I'm here with Jordan, Jeanty.
Very close. Very close.
Jeanty,
exactly. That's the Creole.
It's Creole.
Yeah,
I knew. I was like, it's French or something when I read it, because I always did it with an accent in my head. So Jordan, Jeanty. Jeanty. Very cool. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
So we were talking kind of before we started about how you're working on a project right now. You're a wedding videographer and editor and the whole shindig. So what's that process like?
Name is Jordan Jeanty. Great job with the correction there. But I've been a wedding filmmaker for, this is year 8 now, which is wild how fast time flies. And it kind of just, it happened naturally, just like I met people along the way, and it kind of like the path just slowly but surely kind of led to what I'm doing right now. I'm sure that that was a short version of it, and there's definitely a long version as well. But it's just been a really cool journey. You know, all the different clients I've gotten the chance to work with, and places I've been able to shoot, and people that I kind of met along the way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is so important for people to know how people who are standing out and successful in the spaces that they're in, got there, and how they're doing it, and what your struggles are, and things like that. And I know that a lot of videographers, when they first get into the industry, a lot of videographers start in weddings.
Yeah.
That's where people usually start, and then they are doing it for free for a friend, and trying to just get the experience there, build up their portfolio. But you sort of stayed in that space, and then stayed in the space in a way where you're standing out, and I'm seeing you on best videographer 2021 list, and the knot is huge. You were in a publication that they did. So what is that like? How did you why did you decide to stay in that space?
Again, it's been a crazy journey, but I guess it just kind of happened naturally, you know. And honestly, in the wedding space, I feel like that's my lane, you know. I feel like it works naturally. I kind of even though I might be a little introverted at times, I feel like when it comes to weddings, I kind of just feel natural in that space. But really kind of just started in, I want to say 2014, 2015-ish. I was traveling a bunch and kind of just trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life and everything like that. And when I would travel, I'd always have my iPhone on me, so I'd be recording stuff on my phone, and I want to be able to, you know, share, I guess, the experience that I was having on social media. So I'd shoot videos on my phone, come back home, I'd, chop it up on iMovie and bring it real back. Put it up on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and just kind of having fun with it. And I realized that was an interest. And then so the next step was, the church that I was attending at the time, they actually had a wedding. They actually had a film team, and I joined their film team. I got the chance to really work with people who are a lot more advanced than me. You know, honestly, probably had we have met at that time, I'd be learning from people like you. You know, people who are just in the grind. You know, who are doing it. You know, day in and day out. And so I got the chance to get again hands-on experience doing that. And then from there, I met somebody who had a wedding studio. And then, that person in the wedding studio, I was like, your work is incredible. I'd love to be able to learn from you. Again, I didn't have a vision of I'm going to be doing this full time. I was just it's going to be another opportunity for me. Again, I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And so he brought me on as an intern for his studio, and it was based in New York City. It was kind of like a volume brand wedding factory type of situation.
And you were already out in New York City at that time?
I was living in Jersey at the time. Yeah, so North Jersey, probably 25 minutes outside of New York.
Okay.
And this guy brought me on, and we're doing about 200 weddings a year, photo and video. And again, I had never really been exposed to weddings at all. I was just this is a pretty cool concept. And so I learned there for about 2 months. After that period, they brought me on as a full-time employee. During the week, we'll be editing videos. On the weekends, I'm shooting weddings. And again, I got hands-on experience. It was a grind for sure. Yeah. No joke. And I think you had mentioned a lot of people, even your husband, started off in, just shooting weddings. And maybe they just have a camera, they pick it up, they shoot a friend. But
for free. For a friend.
Exactly. And I think that's common for a lot of people. I kind of had a hybrid type of start by saying that, in the beginning, again, I had that hands-on experience, but I got the chance to learn from other people. So I kind of it wasn't just trial and error for me. And so I worked there for the entire year. I learned so much, and I got to the place at the end of the year. I'm this has been a great opportunity, but I kind of, I think it's time for me to take a leap of faith, and kind of had a pull to just like do it on my own. I kind of just felt like that was like the next step, and I took that leap. And Esther, I had no camera equipment. I had no work to show for myself. I had no couple to vouch for me because everything was from that last studio, but I just kind of had faith that it was just going to work out. And that was 2016. That was the last day I ended up working for somebody. And then you fast forward to now, it's just been, again, an incredible
2016 journey. Is the last time you had a full-time job. That's crazy. So you have been just grinding and like making it work on your own.
Somehow, some way, God's just been providing.
Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. That is amazing. So like you're in a predicament though. You step out, you're like, I don't have a plan. I feel like, you're betting on yourself.
100%.
But you don't have any equipment. So like how did you
It's a great question.
generate money to get the equipment?
That's a very good question. So I got to shout out my guys. So Dave Luder, he was a person who was the film team lead at the church that I was at. And I really got by in the very beginning by using his equipment. And so he lived in an area called, I have no idea. It starts with a P. Some town in Jersey starts with a P, but it's about 30 minutes away from where I lived at the time.
Okay.
And so for me, it's like, again, I was grinding. I didn't have any equipment, but I was just like, I would book something, and then from there, have to figure out how I was going to shoot it.
Okay.
And so that was the grind, for real. And so I'd book something, and as soon as I book it, I'd hit up Dave. I'm like, hey, Dave, is your gear available for this date? He's like, yeah. So I'd have to drive 30 minutes to go pick up the gear. Oh, wow. He might, like I had maybe like, a camera, maybe 2 cameras, like maybe a monopod, an audio recorder, all that stuff. And I'd put it in my car and I'd drive right back home. And he was super great, gracious. He would allow me to pay him when I got paid. Wow. But it's just, he was the first person that, again, like gave me the grace to learn how to shoot and everything like that. Like he kind of gave me those like beginning, I guess, pointers.
Yeah.
And also when it came time for me to take the leap of faith, he was the person that provided me with his gear.
Wow.
And so like God definitely used him in my life, but it was just like that. And so if there was a time where his stuff wasn't available, it was like going on a website like Kit Split. I don't know if you ever heard about that before.
No, I've never heard of Kit Split.
It's like peer-to-peer, gear rental.
Okay.
So like doing that.
Well, actually, I might write that down.
Yeah, you might have.
Literally like.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, just like lens rentals, whatever the case is, anything I could possibly do to kind of like source gear. If it meant I had to like take an hour trek into the deep, recesses of Brooklyn to pick up some stuff, like I would have to just do it.
Yeah.
It was a grind, But then again, I was just willing to shoot anything I got my hands on.
That's
whether
amazing.
there was a wedding client, or if it was a small business promotional video, or an event, like anything I can shoot, I was doing it because I needed to generate that income.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what happened if his gear wasn't available? Oh yeah, just Kit Split.
Kit Split, yeah. So just figuring it out, and like that was the grind, trying to just figure it out, and then slowly but surely I was able to put some money aside and buy some gear, But if there's anybody listening, who maybe doesn't have any gear, I would just say rent it. You don't have to buy all the stuff ahead of time, because wedding video or just video equipment in general is expensive. Yeah.
So I feel like a big part of your story in the beginning is just like you being super humble and like willing to learn and getting involved and willing to learn from people and everything. Did you have an idea sort of like what you wanted to? I know that you weren't planning on doing weddings, but you got involved at that church. Did you have sort of an idea that you wanted to get into video at some point, or you were just really like, I don't know what I want to do at all? Did you have a plan for your life? Or?
No. I mean, if you had to ask me, like in high school, like I was going to be, CEO of some like Fortune 500 company,
that's
like
ambitious.
Very ambitious, or like a music executive. Like I was a big fan of Diddy growing up. Like I was going to be just like Diddy, but didn't really work out like that, But yeah, I mean, I couldn't say that I envision having the life that I have right now. Maybe I knew that I wanted to have flexibility. I knew that I wanted to be able to travel, and I feel like, that aspect kind of like maybe brings me to where I'm at right now, but I didn't really have an interest until I was traveling and like, recording stuff on my phone. That's how I knew that I had some type of interest in it, and then it kind of just like grew organically from there.
Wedding videography is something that like requires so much storytelling, and something that I notice about your videos is like I feel like I'm there. Yeah. Like I remember the couple, it was an older black couple. Okay. And I think TD Jakes was officiating. Yeah. But it felt like I was there. And then like I feel like that's a big marketing feature of your work of like you really do it in a way where it's like it like tells the story of the day.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, an immersive experience where you're like, oh, I could have been there partying on the boat with that couple. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Literally, like how, because that is such an art form itself, just storytelling and being able to like, you know, like portray that through video. So like when you first got started, how did that work out? Like, how did that grow? For sure.
Well, first off, I think that's like the biggest, greatest compliment that I could ever get. It's just like for people saying that they felt like they were there.
Yes.
Felt like they knew the couple. I feel like that's the goal.
Yes.
You know? But yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I think naturally, like I'm a pretty like observant person. You know, like I'm the baby of the family. I don't know about you. So like naturally, like I wasn't a person that was outspoken.
Sure.
I was a person that like kind of like just stayed quiet and just like, you know, watch everything that's going on. And I think that applies to what I'm doing right now. Whereas, you know, obviously there's some times where I'm kind of going to be more active, be a little bit more vocal, be a little bit more, I guess, like heard on a wedding day. But also, I also want moments to breathe, and I also want like people to feel as comfortable as possible just to be themselves. You know, so like I try to build a connection ahead of time so that you know they can just like let their hair down and just like allow them just to be themselves. You know, and I think I think I bring that into a wedding day. I want them to feel like they're comfortable and they can just be themselves. And then when it comes time for me to film them, I can film them authentically them, you know, and like, you know, their day exactly how it is. So when it comes time for me to edit it and put it together, they can watch and be like, yeah, like this is us.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, it really comes back to just, you know, me having like more of an observant type of personality, you know, and being willing to like play the background role just to kind of capture things as they are.
So like building that connection, do you feel like there's less of the bridezillas because you kind of build that connection beforehand, or do you have like some bridezilla type stories?
Honestly, people ask me that a lot. I don't have too many. I don't like, nothing comes to mind, but I think the reason for that is I know when to remove myself from a situation. If I can feel the energy is a little weird, like I'm just gonna like, you know, leave. And then so when the bride looks back on their day, they're like, when they think about their stressful moments, I wasn't a part of it.
Whoa, that's so good. That's a gem. That is a gem.
And I think that's my thing.
Know when to leave.
No,
so
I read the room very well, you know, or if I need to like, you know, make a joke or something like that, like I know when to do it, but also I know when to just, again, allow things to just breathe or just like not just remove myself from a situation.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so good, dude.
Yeah. But people ask me that a lot. Like, do you have bridezilla stories?
Yes.
And I'm sure there are moments where brides and couples have kind of got a little crazy, but again, I wasn't there. Sorry, I wasn't there.
David always says, like, whenever we first got together, I was like, we should shoot weddings. He's like, I have shot weddings, and it's like the bride's stressful and like they're stressed and she's sweating and they want you to be everywhere. So like something I noticed about your work as well is that it feels like there's multiple shooters, but is there?
Absolutely.
Like, okay, cool. So like you're the one that's facilitating that, like, I need a drone person, I need this. So
so not so much drone person, but like for the most part, like I kind of handle like all the responsibilities, but when it comes to like the wedding day, I always have a second person with me. I would say like, unless it's like an elopement with, you know, just like myself, the photographer, and the couple, then I need to necessarily have like a second person. And just there's two reasons for that. I think the number one reason is I can deliver like a higher quality edit if I have another perspective on the day. You know, just like it's just more dynamic of coverage. I can have like one wide angle, and that's maybe on a gimbal. You know, I have another kind of, you know, a tighter angle that my second shooter has that kind of like captures like more intimate moments, whether there's like a sigh or a tear or whatever the case is. I want to kind of capture that organically and then capture it naturally and not like have to restage stuff a bunch. Yes. But yeah, so majority of the time I always have a second person with me on a wedding day.
So you're talking about restaging stuff. Do you ever find yourself that you have to do that? Because all of the shots that I see look so like organic of like what probably happened in the moment.
Yeah, so. I try to keep it as organic as possible. There might be a moment where I need to restage it, but it's not like I don't necessarily restage the first look. If a couple's having that, like I want it to, And there are some videographers who do that, and like to them, like all power to them, but I don't do that. But I think, you know, photographers hate having to work with videographers who need to do that. Or, you know, couples don't want to have to like do that and like, you know, like fake the emotions.
Of course.
I want to kind of capture it naturally as it happens. And, you know, if maybe it happens and, you know, I don't shoot it the best way that I possibly can, like I can figure out a way to use it and maybe in like the teaser or maybe in the wedding day, or if I feel like sometimes I feel like it's like a bonus, you know? So like I could weave it into a story, but if I feel like I didn't shoot it the right way, then I also still have when the bride's coming down the aisle.
Okay.
You know, so I can kind of like do that. But yeah, try not to restage stuff. I try to kind of keep it as natural as possible because again, people can feel phony. You can feel fake. You know, and I don't want to have that feeling at all.
Yeah, that's so good.
When you guys got married, did you guys have a videographer?
We literally didn't.
You did not? Are you serious? Two videographers did not have
a
Are you serious?
So like we were brokety broke.
Okay.
Like we were working at a summer camp. So like we had met at this media place in Branson, Missouri. Mm-hmm. And then we wanted to leave, you know, we were just like, okay, we're ready to go. It felt like it was time. Yeah. And so we got jobs as summer camp videographers because I was like, this is like free food, free lodge, and we get paid all summer. And we get to do like video. And so when we were there, I got reached out to from the creative director at James River, which is my first like big girl job. Yeah. And he... You know, and I got the job there, obviously, and so we moved there, but we didn't have any money. Like, we had just enough money to, like, make the trip there, and so, yeah, we didn't have any money, so I got married. We got married, like, a month after I moved to Missouri, so we both moved together. The church wouldn't, like, let us live together, so we were living separately, and, like, you know, I just didn't have any money for a videographer or photographer. But we have, like, friends that were taking photos. Like, David's uncle was taking, like, a couple pictures. Yeah.
I think it's cool, too, because, I mean, I'm sure you guys were creatives because you guys were also, you met at that camp. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm sure there were people in the community, you know, who you could have, like, tapped into. But I'm glad you at least had somebody to document
Yes, we had photos and stuff from our wedding. It's just, like, not, like, big, fancy video work.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good.
So who are you looking at for inspiration? Like, who do you look for?
Honestly, like, I have a lot of peers who are doing incredible work, you know, and I feel like I take inspiration from a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. I'm going to just name drop a couple people. So, like, KJ Productions, Caleb and Elaine Jimenez, those are two, I would say, like, good friends of mine, and we met, you know, along the journey in the wedding space. And they kind of just, like, make real, like, authentic, just, like, it's just organic type of films that are just, like, true to the couple. So there are elements that I pull from them, you know. You have people like Henry Martins, who's considered, like, top wedding videographer in the world. And the same thing as KJ, like, they're on, like, you know, Harper's Bazaar's list and everything like that. So they're getting a lot of recognition. And so with Henry Martins, like, I remember seeing his work for the first time, and it's so strikingly different. It's just, like, something about it. If you ever, you know, maybe after this podcast, when we're done recording, check it out. It's just, his work is just, there's something different about it, you know? And so visually, I take some, you know, inspiration from him. But honestly, like, the majority of my inspiration just comes from the couple. Okay. I really want to make sure that I'm not walking into a wedding day like, hey, I'm going to make this film exactly like this that I saw. Sure. You know, like, I want to, you know, like, get to know them and get to know what they're all about, you know, what they're interested in, you know, and pull inspiration from that. So when it comes time for me to create a film, like, it's unique to them. Yeah. You know, and I think so good. I appreciate that. And I think the biggest thing for me, it's like, my goal is to make sure that no two of my videos are exactly the same. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously there are going to be some, like, you know, related elements that go from, you know, film to film because it's me editing it. Yeah. But I also want people to be able to watch it and feel like, all right, cool, like, this is completely different than that one. So, for example, you had mentioned two videos. The one that you had seen of Dr. Sharon Harrington and Bishop Staples, that's the one that Bishop T.D. Jakes was officiating. That film is completely different than the Cartagena video that you had mentioned, you know? And, like, it's, like, stark difference, you know? Yes,
for sure. You, like, chose music for, like, that couple that suited it, and, like, that's what I'm talking about, where it feels like you are part of their day, because, like, all the elements from, like, the color grade to the music that you're choosing and everything just feels so niche to that couple. Yeah. And so, I mean, I'm, like, beyond amazed by that. Yeah. Thank you. So good. So good.
And I think that's always to be, like, the biggest inspiration to, like, create something, and maybe I might have to steal that from you, you know? Niche to the couple. I like that. And maybe that's to be, like, my signature style, because there isn't one necessarily, like, there's not a word to describe a style. Yeah. But I would just say, like, I just want to make sure that whoever I'm working with, I'm creating a film, something that's, like, you know, authentic to who they are. Yeah. And I feel like if the biggest thing in my work is just that diversity and, like, I don't know, just, like, the different elements. Like, I'm cool with just that being my style, if that makes any sense.
That does make sense, yeah for sure. So the videos that you post on Instagram, those are usually pretty short. Like, are you doing more long form videos for the couple? So like, tell me about that. How long are these videos usually, the deliverables?
So I know that you follow me on my business page. So a lot of my stuff that's on Instagram, like I'm gonna post like a 1 minute video or like some type of reel, because people's attention spans are a little short, you know. So I just try to, give them like a good feel of what the day's gonna be, you know, and like hook them in, because not everybody's gonna be, willing to watch a full wedding video. A lot of the people who watch the full wedding videos are just like, it's the couple's family and friends, or it's somebody who is considering hiring me.
Yes.
And those are the people that really want to see like the full deal.
Sure.
And so to answer your question, I have a 1 minute, social media edit. A lot of my clients get that within 2 weeks of their wedding day or 4 weeks of their wedding day. Just something that is gonna hold them over.
Yeah.
So they don't have to wait the entire 14 to 16 week process,
it's 14 to 16 weeks. Wow.
Yeah. So that's how long it takes me to get a collection out. And so I have that, and then I also have a 3 to 5 minute highlight film, which is, it's gonna, capture the entire day.
Okay.
Bring everything down to a concise 3 to 5 minute highlight film. I also have a 5 to 7 minute short film. And that's kind of like, it's approached the same exact way as the highlight film, but it's a little bit more stretched out. It has, more dialogue in there, whether it's like, vows or, speeches, all kind of like intertwined. It's really like a roller coaster of the entire day, the highs and lows. But you'll never see on my Instagram, you'll never see this on my social media or like my YouTube or anything like that. I'm actually do like long format videos as well. And so, for example, like for a ceremony, let's say you and David are getting married. You guys are getting your ceremony film. I'm gonna have one camera angle that's locked off on you. I have another camera angle that's locked off on David, and kind of like having those two, solidified stationary cameras. I have one in the back as like a safety kind of camera angle.
Okay.
Another one, roaming around as like a creative angle, kind of capturing alternative stuff, whether it's like you holding hands or, if you have a parent that's like laughing or crying, whatever the case is, it kind of has all those, and maybe some audience, interaction type of shots as well. I have a small lavalier microphone on the groom, lavalier microphone on the officiant, probably another one like locked in as, connected to like a speaker or something like that. So multiple sources of audio, multiple sources of video. So when it comes time for me to, deliver that full length ceremony video, it's the entire deal from start to finish. So pretty long video, my clients are not watching it every single day. It's a pretty long video, but, maybe on their anniversary day, they might want to watch it,
great.
And
that's
so
cool.
I deliver those as well, but you'll never see that on like my social media stuff.
I didn't know that you had so many deliverables. Like the short film, the more long form. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So like the process of 14 to 16 weeks.
Yeah.
Is that just culling through all of the photos? So you're delivering photos and video, or just
only video? Yeah, I only offer video.
Okay.
The main reason for that extended time is because I'm editing everything myself and also shooting everything myself.
Yes.
So I think in the beginning, like my turnaround time was like 6 weeks because there's nothing else that I'm doing. But like if I shoot a wedding, let's say I have a wedding this weekend, like I can't, even though I shoot it now, I also have a lot of weddings that I've shot in the past that needs to be edited.
Gotcha.
And so the editing process will likely take me like 2 to 4 weeks. I would like to bring it like 2 to 3.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm the fastest of editors, but yeah, so that's pretty much like, the deliverable and kind of like the delivery window.
Wow. So why don't you do photography?
Honestly,
like, why don't you have like a photographer and then just tack on that cost?
Yeah. So I used to do that. There was a time where, there was a local photographer when I lived in Jersey, and we kind of offered like photo video packages, but it kind of got a little messy. Only
His
because
photos suck?
No, he's really good. He's really good. I'm sure he might end up seeing this, but he's incredible, and like he does really cool work.
I'll cut that out.
No, please keep it in. Please keep it in. Because there are people who who have hired both of us together.
Sure.
They don't know who I'm talking about. But yeah, at the time it's like maybe a client might want to have photo, but they have like this specific budget in mind. But it's like they'll take some stuff away from the photography side, but then also they want to like but it's two separate companies, so it kind of got a little messy. So for me, it's like I have a lot of photographers that I work with often. They might refer me work, or if a couple comes to me, they don't have a photographer. I'll refer them, and we work together. But it's not like an exclusive thing.
Okay.
And I think it's just a little bit easier. We have two different people who have their own companies. But to better answer your question in a very short, succinct version, I feel like a lot of my work comes from photographers, and also video is my lane. And so it's like if I'm gonna just focus on video and I know that I can deliver like a great product doing that, I'm cool with just focusing on that. And then with my photographer friends, like I'm not necessarily competition to them. If I offer photo to them, then they're not gonna want to refer to me for video because I'm going to take away their photo lead, if that makes any sense.
That's very good business sense.
Yeah, and just like building relationships. So I'm like, it kind of works for me, and it's been working for the last 7 years on my own. I'm going to just keep on doing it.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah. That's smart. So, do you pull inspiration from like places other than other wedding videographers? Like, I know as a videographer and like video editor myself, how important it is to like pour in creative content. Like, I'm on Vimeo all the time looking at like, okay, like this person did this for this video, and just having a catalog of new content in my mind. Do you do the same thing?
I should, and I got to give you props because I feel like I love that. And like even for the time that we've been following each other, I think the first thing I saw from you was the 5-5 video, the high-five video you did for, but like that was such a cool concept, and you like nailed it, 100%, like the vibe. And I listened to this, I heard the song plenty of times beforehand, but it's like the color grade, like you had said before, like color grade match, like the way that you guys shot it, I'm like, wow, this is like spot on. This is exactly how, Toby Nwigwe, that's exactly how, his video kind of looks. So, I mean, I feel like I need to do that more often, but I'm always consuming content. So I'm sure I'll see something, and it might not be intentional, but it could just be in the back of my mind. As I'm editing something, I'm like, oh, like, let me just try this. And it just might be something that I had seen a week ago, but I didn't necessarily, it wasn't intentional. But I feel like, I would love to be intentional about that, even just for like creative projects, just for like a passion project, like be able to, to see something and like take that inspiration and apply it to what I'm doing. Even if it's not a wedding video, it could just be a video I'm just, making for fun.
For sure.
I think I would love to kind of do that and take some inspiration because I feel like you do that a lot and you do it really, really well.
I mean, I'm like, I guess my thing is like, I just want to be up to date on what the style is. I've worked with like 50-year-olds that feel like they've been doing it for so long, and they're thinking that their work is so good, and I'm like, I never want to be like that. I always want to be up to date on like, okay, that might have been cool, like Dutch angles, they were great in the 90s, yes, like I want you to feel good about that, but I also am like, I want to be up to date on like what's current and what's trending, and like just making sure that I can, And then I also feel like it's like the more that you consume good content, the more like material you have to work with, where you're like, I'm about to shoot this scene, and then you're like, okay, well, I remember in this music video that I saw on Vimeo like 3 weeks ago, they shot it like this. It like gives you like a lot to emulate from, and from that, try to find your own style and your own voice. So yeah, that's really cool.
Absolutely. And I feel
Do you feel like working with like clients all the time and like delivering, like, is that your creative outlet, or do you have another creative outlet that you do? Like, is it more work, or do you have another sort of like
I get where you come. Honestly, I don't. Like the majority of my creative, I guess, creative energy goes towards like fulfilling like client needs, and I feel like that's cool, but also I know that there's a need for me to do like passion projects, and honestly, like the last 2 years has kind of just been pretty tough, just kind of like dealing with a lot of like the 2021 season, like kind of like the effects of what that ended up being, and then like still having to work through it to today. It's like a lot of my energy is just like I'm waking up, I'll work out, and I'm like cool, straight getting into work, getting into edits. I would love to be in a position where I'm working on stuff just like for fun. I feel like that's how you kind of keep things fresh.
Yes.
Honestly, I haven't had the time to do that, but like I'm looking forward to it.
But it's a good. It's a good thing because it means that your business is booming and you got a lot of client work and stuff like that.
And I'm grateful. But it's very healthy to be able to have something like that, And I feel like that's something I definitely want to get into. And again, just like I remember, you had posted something. I don't know if you had like a friend that came through or something like that. And you did like some type. I remember you were maybe on like a rooftop.
Yeah, it was like, my roof.
No, are you serious? And see, like that. Who does stuff like that? Like you're just like stretching your creativity. Like, hey, like let's just do this. And I feel like I would love to be in a place where I can do that again. I haven't been there in a long time, but I feel like once I do get to that point, I think it's gonna naturally help other areas, like help my
sure.
business, and like, you know, allow me to have like more creativity going into projects. For sure. You know,
I felt like being in the video business for the past like couple years, I think I got to the point where I was like, I know what my clients like, I know what my, you know, boss is like, I know what they think is cool, but I'm like, what do I think is cool? Like, how would I shoot this if I didn't have anybody to answer to, sort of thing. Right. And so I feel like I'm in that stage right now where I'm like, okay, I need to figure out my own voice in this creative space, like, and like unlearn, you know, some things that I've learned, like, okay, like, I don't have to do it that way. I can try to find my own way of doing things. So yeah, it's been a cool, you know, little process for me. Yeah. And just I feel like when you're like taking some time off of like other things, you're able to like be and stretch your creativity in other avenues, like doing the podcast, you know, I'm working on some other projects that aren't video related, and it's very refreshing. So it's very cool. And
real quick before I lose the thought, you were talking about like how would I approach this if I'm just like doing it, you know, for you, and I feel like I agree with that, you know, like that resonates with me, but also I feel like naturally we're going to bring our own flavor to things. For sure. And I feel like I'm always just thinking about the work you did with Social Dallas, you know, incredible work. And like I remember, you know, from the firefight and then even to like the shoot that we worked on, like the promo shoot. Yes. I think that the only shoot that we had, like we were like on the same set on, but it's like just seeing how your mind worked, like that was you putting your flavor, even though you might have had like a vision for like where it was going to be, but it's like you still put that Esther sauce on it, you know what I mean? Like you still made it yours, and I feel like that's naturally going to happen, you know? So just to kind of like throw a little bit of encouragement on it. I feel like you're incredible at doing that. Appreciate
that. Appreciate it.
No worries.
I had a question. Oh, you know, it was really funny to me when you were like, I'm not the fastest video editor, and I'm like, I know that you can turn around.
Oh man.
A project in 24 hours. Yeah. We hired you to do what was it for our birthdays?
Yeah, second birthday
celebration, and you turned it around in 20. It was less than 24 hours.
I have no.
It was like overnight. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning, I think, when you handed it in.
Yeah. It was
so
crazy.
I'm like, that's. You can edit really
I can, but like I might
have
taken a year or 2 years off my life, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, that was a really cool experience, you know, like the entire thing, and like thank you for that, you know. So grateful that we got the chance just to connect fast, and I feel like I constantly am talking about how like throughout this entire journey, God has just kind of placed people in my in my life. I only have one, as far as I know. But yeah, God has just placed, you know, really great people in my life, and I feel like, you know, us meeting was definitely one of those times. And even though, you know, we kind of like crossed paths as you were like transitioning out of that, you know, super grateful that we got the chance, even like we're doing now, and like who knows what's going to be in the future, but like this is super cool as well.
What advice would you give for people that are trying to just take a step? Maybe they're leaving their 9 to 5, or they want to just get started in the video business. Like, what advice would you sort of give them?
For sure. I think at the time when I was, you know, taking that leap, I don't know that I was open to hearing other people's like perspective and like, you know, opinion or anything like that. But I feel like for me as a person that has kind of like, you know, I guess gone through the process and maybe is on the other, you know, side of it, if I can kind of give any type of advice or like wisdom, I would say if you don't necessarily have to leave your job, I feel like it's a beautiful place, especially if it's in like, you know, the wedding space or like the creative space. It's a beautiful place to be in, to like work a 9 to 5 and then also be able to generate income doing something creatively on the side, whether it's like something that you're moonlighting or, you know, shooting weddings on the weekends. I feel like that's a great place to be in. And I can say for weddings specifically, if you happen to be somebody who again has a 9 to 5 job, you know, you can again have the safety income and then also be able to be like very selective with the type of weddings that you're taking on.
Oh yeah.
So you can learn a lot, you know what I mean? You can, you know, shadow different people, whatever the case is, but you can also be in a place where you can pick and choose the type of weddings that you're shooting. And so when you're doing that, I think if you're like being very selective and you're only shooting the type of weddings that you really want to be working on and you post it on social media, it's like perception is reality. If you're shooting weddings, and maybe you might not be making a bunch of money on these, but if you're putting great content out and you're taking on incredible weddings, it's like that perception is like, oh, this guy is really good. Like he's gone through the process. This lady is really great. They've gone through the process of like maybe going through like the less than ideal clients or whatever the case is. But I feel like that's a great place to be in. But if you happen to be somebody that was like me, who doesn't want to hear anything about anybody, I would just say, you take the leap and just be open. Like maybe you might have to be in a season where you just say yes more often. So anything that kind of comes your way, if it's like income generating, you might have to do it. Again, I was doing small business promotional videos. I was shooting events. I was just doing anything I could possibly get my hands on. My first wedding was free, just so I can kind of have something to put on my portfolio. And then from there, it's like I gradually, built up. My second wedding might have been $700, and then from there, it's like might have been $1,200. And I remember the first time I booked a wedding, that was like $3,000. I'm like, I just booked a wedding that's what?
I made it.
This is it? Are you serious? And like genuinely, like even $2,600. Like I remember like being so pumped, and it's a blessing to be able to be in that place, but I would say again, if you have the capacity to continue to work and then also do it on the side, I think that's a beautiful place to be in. But if you're again going to just like take that leap and just get right into it, then you might just have to grind it out a little bit. You work and you take on. You definitely have to eat. So you take on the projects that you need to take on, and then over time you'll figure out the stuff you like working on, what you don't like working on, and then you can maybe niche out from there.
That's so good.
And I would say that's probably my best advice.
That's awesome. I love that advice because I feel like a lot of advice right now is just quit your job, go pursue your dreams, and it's like, okay, how are they gonna eat?
Right.
Like how they, So I think that's awesome. Yeah.
And I also want to put this little caveat in there. I took a leap when I was living at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I maybe was 22. You know what I mean? 21 years old, and like I could have that risk. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't necessarily like I didn't have a crazy rent. Like I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have a family to look after. So like there was obviously more. If you happen to be somebody who has more responsibilities, like maybe there are more things you have to think about. But I guess that was just like my journey, and I wouldn't say like my journey is not going to be somebody else's journey. But if you happen to be someone that maybe wants to kind of get some type of feedback, like you can always reach out. You can hit me up on Instagram. I'll always be checking my DMs and all that good stuff, and I'll be happy to ask any or answer any questions that people might have.
That's awesome, Jordan.
Yeah.
What is like your goal? Like, what's the end goal for you? Where do you want to be?
It's a great question. I think honestly over the last 2 years it's been so like heavy with work that it's like my goal is just to like it's just my just be basically like just being where my feet are at. Like I haven't necessarily like looked too far into the future, but when it comes to like wedding videos, like I just want to continue to grow. Like I feel like maybe the next step is like maybe building a team a little bit, and not necessarily having like a huge company, but maybe one or two people that can help me on a season basis, whatever the case is. But honestly, just continue to grow, just continuing to work with great clients and like give great experiences and everything like that. I feel like I don't want to look too far ahead into the future. Maybe in the next like 2 to 5 years, I can definitely see myself like in this wedding space. But I know when it comes time for me to be like, I don't know, in my 50s, like I don't know if I'm going to be wanting to, film weddings all the time. But for right now, I feel like over the next 2 to 5 years, just continuing just to, give great experiences to my clients, the people that I'm working with, and putting out great work, traveling to great places, and just enjoying this journey for what it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have to ask the question.
Yeah.
You said 50 years from now, you don't know if you want to be in weddings or whatever. What do you think AI's role in the videography, editing, maybe wedding process? I mean, obviously AI can't be on-site shooting,
right?
But what do you feel like that's going to impact the industry that you're in very much?
Honestly, from right now, I kind of hope it will, like from a positive standpoint, because I don't necessarily. I mean, I guess. There's an element, like there's a human element to like what we do. Obviously there's going to be somebody out there that is like, all right, cool, I don't really need anything too crazy. I'll just, have somebody shoot stuff and then like have them put like the footage into some software and just like put it together. Cool. If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. But for the clients who are going to want like, that human element, that human touch, and like they want to kind of like support an artist and have an artistic expression of their wedding day, then I feel like that's not going to like AI is not gonna take that away, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But from a positive standpoint, like I hope AI can like help with video editing somehow, some way. Like there's, I mean, I'm very open and willing to help it out, to welcome it in. But I think for like photographers, like they can shoot something and maybe like I don't know, there's some software, I don't know the name of it, but you can edit like a few photos and then like kind of like give that to the AI, and the AI will create all these other photos based off of that edit. I'm like, what? Serious? Yeah. I'm like, are you? And so like I know photographers who like their editing process has like been dramatically reduced because they can do that. I'm like, please, I hope that it becomes a thing for video. Please, like come through, like help me out, That's
so funny.
But yeah, I don't have I'm not afraid of it for right now. But maybe if you ask me in about a year or two, I might change my tone.
I gotta ask just before we're done.
Yeah.
You are a business person, obviously. What was COVID like for you, being in the wedding business and a pandemic?
Crazy.
Where people couldn't meet.
Yeah. And so
survive?
I feel like it was a unique experience because I had just moved from the New Jersey area. I actually made plans to move here before the pandemic hit, and like
Why Dallas?
I kind of just wanted, I wanted to experience something different, number one, but also like I visited a couple different cities, whether it's Miami, LA, Atlanta, Dallas, and I feel like when I came here, it just felt like I could be home here. I don't necessarily know, like LA is not really my vibe so much, Miami didn't feel at home for me. When I came over here, like I didn't really know anybody in the area, but I just felt like you get more for your money. Also it's a centralized location, so if I'm traveling places, I can always get to and from wherever I need to within like 3 hours. And also it's just there's a vibe in Dallas. It kind of just feels like I guess artisan is the word. Like a lot of people who are just like creatives and who are just like making it happen, and just like whether they're small businesses or whatever the case is, people who are making it happen, but it's not just all corporation type of stuff, and I kind of like that element. It's very homey. And so I moved here, and I made the move again right when the pandemic hit. And so it hit. I was kind of like trying to figure things out. I remember it was supposed to be 2 weeks, so I was like, all right, cool, I'll just like wait it out for a month and delay the move for a month, and then we're still in it, so I moved over here, and a lot of my weddings were still in the New York and New Jersey area. I didn't have a bunch of weddings in the Dallas area, and so all my New York and New Jersey weddings, my East Coast weddings, they were shut down. Like that was not happening. But meanwhile, like I had connected with some of the filmmakers like locally in Dallas, and like their weddings were still on. Like they didn't.
They did not care.
No, they did not care at all. And I'm like,
so funny.
It was super strange for me because again, like obviously we were locked down. Like I was locked down in Jersey. I knew what that was like. It was like day after tomorrow. Like people were not. You go to the grocery store, like it was like nobody's like if you cough, like it was crazy. But I remember moving over here, and it just kind of felt like a lot more open, and people are they were having their weddings out here in Dallas, and even like outside, maybe like 45 minutes outside of the Dallas area, and it's like I had no problem wearing my mask. Like it was because it was a shock to me. Yeah. People over here in Texas, like they were just like living their lives, like nothing happens at all. They were looking at me crazy. I'm like, y'all can look at me every way I want to look at me. Like I'm gonna be straight. But so all that to say, my entire 2020 season was canceled, or rescheduled. I didn't have, I might have had one or two, couples who canceled their wedding altogether, but all that was moved into 2021. And so you got 2021 that comes through, and it's my first year living in Dallas, first wedding season, traveling for weddings, and on top of that, I had 2 wedding seasons in one. And so for all the money, all the weddings and like the bookings that I missed out on for 2020, like I had to recoup for that for 2021 season. So I was still booking new clients. So I had my rescheduled 2020 couples, my new 2021 couples, and here I am traveling pretty much every single weekend. Like it was wild. Like it was a blur. Like I would. Every wedding was pretty much a 4-day trip, So let's just say if the wedding's on a Saturday, I leave on Thursday. I get home. I probably get something to eat. Get to my mom's place. I get a haircut on Friday. Maybe I shoot the rehearsal dinner, or shoot the wedding on Saturday. I might take like a family day because again, like I'm just moving away, so like the family needs to kind of get their time as well. And then so I do like a family day, and I'll leave. Let's say I fly back on on Monday. I'm home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I fly again on Thursday. So it's like you couldn't really get into a flow of editing, you know. So it was just nonstop, and it was like that was the situation throughout the entire year. And it was madness, you know.
It was insane. It sounds so bad.
It was so crazy, you know. And like candidly, like I'm still working through the delays that were caused from that wedding season, you know. And it's like I hate being in that place, you know. I mean, I hate the fact that like I'm constantly editing, I'm constantly working just to kind of like play catch up, but. That's kind of like the reality, but I'm at a place now where I'm like, I don't even like talking about like the effects that I'm having. Like I have to like create some affirmations. Like I'm so glad that I'm finally through with the 2021 wedding season effects, but it was a crazy year. I'm grateful that we're not necessarily there anymore, but I'm still working through to make sure I can like be 100% like fully caught up on it.
Wow, that's a lot. I never thought about the fact that you would have to book new clients, but then also fulfill all of the my gosh,
reschedule.
Must have been crazy.
And I wasn't like charging rescheduling fees. Like everything was like I tried to be as like human as possible. So I would just say like, hey, like I would constantly get emails like, hey, like what's your policy on this? And I mean nobody had like a guidebook on how to do it, you know. But I just knew that like I wanted to be a fair person, you know. So I'm like, hey, you know, if you're planning on rescheduling, just shoot me a text message, or shoot me an email, let me know like the dates that you're considering, and I'll let you know if I'm available or not. I had some clients who had to reschedule 2 or 3 times, you know. It was wild, and I'm so glad that we're not there anymore.
Oh my goodness, wow. Do you ever get imposter syndrome?
Absolutely.
You do.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So I think it's natural, you know, and I think naturally like we're like comparison type of people, like we like it's like a natural instinct. And you see people, you know, you mentioned like White and Reverie, like Caleb, you know, Kaylin and Christina are incredible, you know, at what they do. And so, you know, if you're seeing that, it's like you're almost like comparing their work, you know, with the work that you're putting out, you know, or, you know, I might put something out and somebody's comparing their work to what I'm putting out. And I'm like, comparison is like, it's a slippery slope, you know, but I feel like naturally, like you kind of get to a feel like, oh man, like am I as good as what I think I am, you know, like how do I match up to these people? So I feel like it's a natural thing, but it's like, I just try to just be grateful for the clients that, you know, see me, who appreciate me, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not creating something just out of like my own vein. Like I'm creating something because these people believe in what I can put together. They believe in like the experience that I can offer, and I'm almost like thriving off of that belief, as opposed to like, oh, I'm so great, and I'm so no, like I'm very, very humble in the way that I approach like the weddings, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very
What
cool.
about you? Do you ever feel that?
Yes, all the time, Yeah, I think it's just one of those things. I think, you know, growing up, you don't think that a creative like career path can be a thing. You feel like, you know, I feel like our whole generation grew up with our parents like working these places for like 20 and 30 years, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how'd you do that? But yeah, I feel it sometimes for sure. Yeah. But it's so true, the comparison thing. Like you just have to like keep it in check. Like the second that I'm looking at somebody else's work and I'm like, oh, I need to get on this. I need to start doing this. Blah blah blah. I'm like, I'm stealing my own piece. And like, you know, I need to take a little social media break or
and that's
something.
Real.
Yeah,
that's real. And I feel like when you had asked me earlier, like, hey, do I like pull inspiration from a lot of people? Like, obviously, like on Instagram, you'll see somebody post something, but like I'm not like going deep into a rabbit hole, like watch everybody else's work. That they have incredible work. I'm not taking anything away from them, but I'm like protecting myself against that, you know,
so good.
Because again, I know where that can lead to, but also number two, I don't want that to influence what I'm creating for somebody else. If they say that they, you know, this is who the client is, like I want to create something that feels right for them. I don't want to create something that, you know, let's just say you guys got married and you had an incredible film. Like I don't want to just make your film their film, you know, or their film your film, if that makes any sense. So definitely you have to kind of be mindful of like what you're consuming, you know. But yeah, I feel like that's real and it's natural.
How does like, so you were growing up in the church and you do church, how does faith play a part in like the weddings that you shoot? Do you ever like pray before them, or
100%?
Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think I've ever told anybody this, but like I think like leading into a wedding, like whenever I'm about to start, I feel like there's definitely a level of like anxiety, and not because like I feel like I'm gonna mess it up, but I just feel like you walk into like you don't necessarily have control over everything.
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, like I just to kind of like, you know, calm the nerves a little bit. Like even before I walk into a wedding day, I'm like, I just, you know, definitely do a little like, you know, silent prayer. Like, hey, God, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, for allowing me to be here, and for this couple finding me and everything like that. And also help me to see where you see, you know, and like really just approach from like a level of service. You know, again, like I'm not walking into it like, hey, I'm Jordan Jeanty and this is what I'm all about. Like, no, there's no air at all. Like, I want the couple to, you know, have an incredible time. I want the couple to really just enjoy their experience, and I want them to know that like their memories and everything, like what they hold dear is something that I'm valuing as well, you know. And also like when it comes time for, you know, their wedding day to be over, I just want them to know that like, yeah, like they made a great decision having me you know, on the day, because like I actually cared, you know. So to answer your question, 100% yes, and I feel like that helps set the vibe, set the mood, you know, like even walking into it kind of like helps me to just like center myself a little bit, and like cool, I can be on and ready to go for my clients.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so cool. Last question.
Let's do it.
What is your equipment list like? What are you shooting with?
I'm a Sony guy. I've been a Sony guy for 8 years now.
Wow.
It just, I think naturally, so when I got started in the wedding industry, it's like that's when the A7S just dropped.
Yes, yeah.
And so like a lot of people in the wedding industry were like straight Canon, and like Canon was like the craze, then all of a sudden like it was Sony. And so like the first real camera I was working on was like a, you know, Sony A7S. So I just like it kind of felt natural. And then from there I got the A7S II, knew how to work with that. I had the A6500, A6300, A6400, all that, you know, that good stuff. But it feels natural. And I'm not the biggest gearhead, you know, like any of my friends will tell you that. Like I get what I need, and I work with that until I feel like it's limiting me, you know. So like obviously I had to upgrade from like the A7S II and the A7 III to the A7S III, just because it can do like 4K 60, because you can tell somebody who's shooting on like 1080 only as opposed to that. So I'm like, all right, cool. I don't want my work to be limited. So shoot on A7S IIIs. Those are my main cameras, and then pretty much all Sony glass, you know. So like Sony G Master 24-70 is on my gimbal. I have a 90mm that I typically have like handheld, just to kind of give like a good feel for, you have the mechanical perfect gimbal shot, and you also have a handheld 90mm shot that's a little bit more organic. I like to kind of like mix those two different elements. 70-200 for like the, you know, the ceremony, the reception. That throw some 85s in there. But yeah, pretty much like all Sony glasses and all Sony gear. And it's crazy if you ever see me like, I don't know, pulling up to a wedding day, like I have like my full, you know, backpack on me that's full to the brim. I have like a roller bag, a think tank bag that's full to the brim. Definitely a lot of equipment when it comes to video and wedding video.
Awesome. Yeah. This is sponsored by Sony.
Please sponsor the boy. Sponsor the boy. I would love it.
But thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah,
I feel like it's such a good, you know, podcast, and just a good time sitting down talking to another creative about your process and your struggles and everything that you're sort of, you know, doing right now. So best of luck. And if people need to follow you or subscribe to your stuff, where can they find like your work? Instagram. I feel like that you'll see like most of my most recent work. So Jeanty Studios, JEA, N as in Nancy, T as in Thomas, Y as in Yes Studios on Instagram. On the TikTok and all that good stuff, pretty much the same exact, you know, just my name. If you search it up, you see that, and same thing on YouTube. That's where you kind of see my main work, and I guess you can kind of keep track there. If you like the podcast and we said some cool stuff, like hit me up. Like I'm always, you know, down for like meeting new people, so definitely slide into the DMs. We'd love to kind of connect with anybody that, if you have any questions or anything like that, like be happy to help them out or to answer them in any way that I can. Awesome. Well, awesome. Thank you so much.
For sure.